और डांग डुम्मस वेड़ छी
समस्त रिधि कृषि मूलम धन धान्य औषधि संपन्नम।
मुंशी मिठू मोरार जी दादा रतन कल्याण जी टंडेल डांगी खारवा हलपति अनाविल पारसी
समस्त रिधि कृषि मूलम धन धान्य औषधि संपन्नम।
दांडी नमक सत्याग्रही गांधी गिरा गरुड़ेश्वरी दांडी नमक सत्याग्रही गांधी गिरा गरुड़ेश्वरी सरदार सरोवर नर्मदा सरदार सरोवर नर्मदा है कंकरा सब शंकरा है कंकरा सब शंकरा
हे समस्त रिधि कृषि मूलम धन धान्य औषधि संपन्नम। धन धान्य औषधि संपन्नम। धन धान्य औषधि संपन्नम।
You are now unmuted.
Good morning to all. I welcome all the participants in this Vet-NI webinar series 2020 in 11th webinar on hematology and its applied aspect in veterinary practice. And our speaker is Dr. Virendra Kumar Singh, Assistant Professor, Veterinary Physiology, College of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry, Navsari Agriculture University, Navsari. So I would like to speak about Dr. Virendra Kumar Singh. He is working as assistant professor since last 10 years in the Department of Veterinary Physiology. And he worked a lot on various hematological aspects of the various animals and having very good knowledge, especially field knowledge about the hematological aspect, which will be useful for the veterinarians those are work in field and which will be very useful to diagnose of the various condition of the animal. Before joining as an assistant professor, he was also worked at least 1.5 years in various private institute for serving as a veterinary officer. So I welcome Dr. Virendra Kumar Singh. So now start our today's webinar. I request Dr. Virendra Kumar Singh, please start the webinar.
So, good morning, everyone. Before
moving on, I
You
would
are now
like
muted.
to take the opportunity to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor NAU Dr. Sunil Chaudhary sir, Dean of Veterinary College NAU Dr. VB Kharadi sir, Head of my department Dr. Sandhya Chaudhary madam, Organizing Secretary of this webinar Dr. Deepak Suthar, and Co-Organizing Secretary Dr. Lalit Modi, as well as the IT cell of our university for providing this platform for this webinar. So the topic of the webinar is hematology and its applied aspects in veterinary practice. What hematology? It is the study of blood and its cells, the abnormal and the abnormal constituents. It indicates the disturbances in the physiology of the animal, and it is one of the most common tests which is being ordered by a veterinarian or being looked after in case of any disease to evaluate the health status for the diagnosis or the prognosis, and accordingly giving the treatment or devising a prevention strategy. Veterinary hematology is definitely very challenging because there are a lot of different species. Something which may be normal in one species can be abnormal in another species. The common hematological tests which are being referred to are PCB, that is hematocrit, hemoglobin, total erythrocyte count, leukocyte count, platelet count, differential leukocyte count, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, and the reticulocyte count. Reticulocyte count is very important because it is used to assess the regenerative anemia. In that also, the percentage count is not that much helpful. Absolute count is much more helpful. And the morphology of the cells is very important to be observed. Any inclusions in the cell, red cell distribution width, that is RDW, mean platelet volume, corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, and mean corpuscular hemoglobin content of the cell. Before moving on, we must know what is the origin of the cells which we are. The hematopoietic stem cells, which are pluripotent, they divide asymmetrically into myeloid and lymphoid progenital lines, which are multipotent. The myeloid lines, they harbor CFUs of granulocyte and monocyte, of eosinophil, basophil, erythroids, and megakaryocytes. And the lymphoid lines, which give rise to B cells, T cells, as well as NK cells, natural killer cells. Now, the first and the foremost important thing is that the collection of the blood sample should be with accuracy, and we have to take some precautions, and some pre-analytical considerations should also be taken. Collection of the sample is very critical, especially you have to take the representative sampling, that is with respect to time and the stage of the disease which we are targeting to diagnose. Apart from that, sometimes we need to do the repeated sampling because blood is a dynamic fluid, and some things which may be present today may immediately go after 8 hours or 10 hours. So accordingly, depending on the type of test and depending on the disease or depending on the health status which we are going to evaluate, we have to repeat the sampling. Choice of anticoagulant is very crucial, which we'll see in the next slide. Now, the types of collection tubes, that is the Vacutainer tubes, there are separate coatings for them. The red colored cap is used for serum collection. The black colored cap is used for serum which has gel. Sometimes we cannot centrifuge to separate the cellular and the liquid portion. So this gel present at the bottom will separate the cellular as well as the liquid portion. The lavender colored cap for EDTA, and that is the best for hematological purposes. Green for heparin, blue for citrate, and gray for fluoride estimation, especially done for if we want to know the blood glucose level, etc. Now, what needs to be considered is the selection of the suitable site depending on the species, the purpose, as well as the volume. 22 gauge needle is appropriate for the small animals and 18 gauge for the large animals. The collection should be done in one swift action because if there is turbulent flow, then there may be chances of microclot formation, and turbulent flow will lead to fibrin accumulation at a particular place and activation of the platelets. EDTA, even though is most preferred, but the proper ratio is very important to be maintained. And immediately after collection, the blood sample needs to be mixed with the anticoagulant thoroughly so that the whole blood is exposed to the anticoagulant. Apart from that, if a smear is to be made, which I recommend that a smear should always be made either in triplicate or in 4, that should be done immediately from the blood. If the collection is being done from the animal which is catheterized, so we should avoid any kind of intravenous fluid which has been administered in the blood collection, so that it may not dilute the blood. Then storage at the site of the collection, during the transportation, and storage at the lab if it is not being analyzed immediately is very critical. Mostly the temperature should be cool, it should not be cold, it should not be frozen, and the fluid blood which we have collected, that should not be in direct contact with the eyes. The slides should always be maintained at room temperature. They should not be kept at cool temperature or frozen. Now the decision to analyze the sample should be cut off by 1 hour. If we are not analyzing it within 1 hour, then we have to apply the protocols for the storage for a longer time. That should also not be much, because hardly after 1 day, there may be a lot of changes which we observe. The analytical options, whether on-site has to be done or clinic, that depends definitely on the availability of the resources, but preferably it should be done in a veterinary lab, because the person who is analyzing or interpreting will also be a veterinarian, as well as the instruments are being specific for the different species, because most of the times the human analyzer, that will not give perfect result as compared to the veterinary hematology analyzer. The fully hematology analyzers which are present nowadays are based on the principles such as Coulter principle, and these are mentioned in the increasing advancement, electrical impedance, flow cytometry, fluorescent dyes, and when the technology is advanced, more and more number of parameters are being involved. For example, in the technology which involves optical scatter and radio frequency, that can assess the granularity index of the cell or the density of the cell. So the latest technology is volume conductivity and scatter technology, that is VCS technology. Any hematology analyzer with VCS technology will be most advanced. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of automated analysis? Definitely it is accurate. Many parameters can be done, and large number of samples with reduced effort can be done. But you will hardly get any morphological details. It is very costly. The cost is high. And there are many interfering aspects. For example, the platelets, if they get clumped, then if 10 platelets are clumped, it will be counted as only 1. So it can underestimate the platelet count. Then there are 3, 5, and 7-part analyzers which are available. 7-part, even though is most advanced, but the 3-part analyzer is very good and it serves the purpose, at least in the veterinary practice, because 5-part is very costly also, and it is also very costly to maintain the recurring expenditure. The advantage in 7-part is blast cell and immature granulocytes can be observed. Now we'll take a quick look at the CBC parameters, the normal values, factors affecting their variation, increase or decrease, relative increase or relative decrease, or absolute increase or absolute decrease. First, related to erythrocyte. So for hematocrit, RBC and hemoglobin concentration, the relative increase may be seen during dehydration or splenic contraction in the horses especially, and absolute increase will be because of the increase in the RBC mass, that is because of maybe polycythemia or due to erythropoietin release under the influence of hypoxia, or any renal neoplasia is present in that case. Decreased values of hematocrit, RBC and hemoglobin concentration may be relatively observed during IV fluid dilution, or there is splenic relaxation under the influence of some anesthetic agent or maybe tranquilizer. An absolute decrease in RBC mass will also decrease these values. That may happen during anemia due to hemorrhage or hemolysis or decreased production. Now next parameter is MCV, that is mean cell volume or mean corpuscular volume. Physiologically, they are increased in some breeds, for example, dog breeds, greyhound, and regenerative anemia or osmotic membrane abnormalities may lead to swelling of the cell. Then defects in nuclear maturation or DNA synthesis like folate deficiency or vitamin B12 deficiency even though slightly uncommon, but they may lead to increased MCV. Apart from that, some drugs, some chemicals such as hydroxyurea that interferes with the DNA metabolism, that may also increase MCV. The decreased values physiologically is seen in younger age group, that is puppies, kitten, calves, and due to administration of some drugs like chloramphenicol, and during iron deficiency, nutritional deficiency such as copper, which may lead to secondary iron deficiency or not, it does not allow iron to be absorbed. Excess of zinc may also interfere with the iron absorption. So any direct or indirect deficiency of iron will lead to decreased MCV. Any hepatic dysfunction such as presence of portosystemic shunt, this portosystemic shunt may be congenital also, and it may be acquired also during the lifetime. Now, MCHC normally increased are not reported or not found normally, but decreased values are seen during regenerative anemia, normal, that is with normal or even high MCV, and iron deficiency anemia. If there is reduced hemoglobin production, or if there is RBC swelling, then relatively the hemoglobin concentration with respect to volume will reduce if the RBC swells. Next parameter is RDW. This is also very important. This is an index of the variation in the RBC volume, which may be because of iron deficiency anemia. And in that case, iron deficiency anemia, high RDW with low MCV will be there. Vitamin B12 and folate deficiency, we see high RDW and high MCV. And in case of recent hemorrhage, we see high RDW and normal MCV. Then the next parameter is nucleated RBC. What are these nucleated RBC? Normally RBCs appear non-nucleated, but if the earlier premature forms are released, then they are seen physiologically in case of species like camelids. And during bone marrow injury, because of sepsis or any kind of endotoxemia, because of this erythropoiesis, also increased nucleated RBC may be seen. During splenic dysfunction also it may be seen. And in case of heat stroke and lead toxicosis in case of calves. Now, I have not mentioned over here ESR, but ESR actually per se is not of diagnostic significance, but it helps to evaluate the health status or the progression of the disease. What is ESR? That is the sedimentation rate of the erythrocyte, because these erythrocytes have a tendency to stack up on one another, and it is inversely proportional to the concentration of erythrocyte. If more concentration is there, then it is inversely proportional. And in case of ruminants, it is less. In case of horses, they are highest. Increased ESR is being observed in increased cholesterol lecithin ratio during pregnancy, septicemia, maybe rheumatic fever, or tuberculosis, malignant tumors, hypothyroidism, glomerulonephritis, arthritis, or any kind of toxic condition. And decreased ESR will be observed during anything which reduces the fibrin level or fibrin concentration in the blood, as well as polycythemia, because I said it is inversely proportional. If there is polycythemia, then there will be decreased ESR. And in case of allergic condition. Now, the next parameter is reticulocytes. Reticulocytes are basically immature enucleated RBCs, and they are produced from the bone marrow, released in the circulation during regenerative response, especially in case of dogs and cats. Again, I said earlier that absolute reticulocyte count is more important to assess whether an anemia is regenerative or not. The increased values of reticulocytes normally is seen in dogs, and in case of increased erythropoiesis during regenerative anemia, maybe either because of hemorrhage or hemolysis, or maybe due to lead poisoning. Decreased values of reticulocytes will be seen in decreased erythropoiesis, and this may happen because of some suppression pathway from the cytokines released during inflammation, or there is lack of erythropoietin, or there is bone marrow disease. Next, we move on to leukocytes. Per se, counting of WBC will not give a very clear-cut idea, but counting different cells will be helpful. So we move on to neutrophils, where the most common cause which affects the neutrophils are stress or the corticosteroids, epinephrine and inflammation, and they basically transfer the pool of the neutrophils from the marginating pool. I will explain in further slides that what is the marginating pool or the circulating pool, but increased neutrophilia or neutrophils will be seen when from the marginating pool it moves to circulating pool. It comes into the circulation from the walls of the vessel. It comes into the circulation under the influence of catecholamines or corticosteroids. This may also happen in increased bone marrow release under the influence of inflammatory cytokines, increased bone marrow production leading to more granulopoiesis, decreased tissue migration. The neutrophils will not go into the tissue, it will remain in the circulation. So decreased tissue migration, and under the influence of inflammation when there is more demand or there is corticosteroids, endogenous or exogenous, the death of the neutrophil will occur late. That is, it will be delayed apoptosis. In that case, there will be neutrophilia. If now decreased values, that is neutropenia, will be observed physiologically in some breeds like Labrador Retriever or Shepherds, and that occurs because the neutrophils move from the circulating pool to the marginating pool. From the circulation, it goes towards the walls of the vessels or peripheral tissues, and that may happen during endotoxemia. It may also happen during decreased bone marrow release, decreased marrow production, and decreased marrow production may be because of some immune-mediated infectious agents or drugs, or like feline Ehrlichia canis, feline leukemia virus, or increased tissue migration under the endotoxemic influence. And if there is increased destruction of the neutrophils, that may occur in case of, for example, virus like canine parvovirus, feline panleukopenia, and bovine viral diarrhea. Also in immune-mediated neutropenia and due to some chemotherapeutic agents. Next is band neutrophils. What are these band neutrophils? These band neutrophils are the neutrophils which are slightly previous stage of the segmented neutrophils which we see in the blood. Now these are released or increased during inflammation. They are increased during inflammation, and basically they are characterized as left shift or right shift. They may also have metamyelocytes and myelocytes, but however, it is always better to tag them as band neutrophils because most of the times we cannot identify the previous stages, or it is difficult to identify. The neoplastic condition may also lead to increased band neutrophils. Then moving on to lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are increased during physiological stage when the animal is young, maybe below 6 months, or there is catecholamine levels increases, which may induce the shift of the lymphocytes. Apart from that, antigenic stimulation, maybe in case of infections like Ehrlichia canis or Theileria or Babesia, in lymphocytes may increase. Any neoplastic condition of, for example, lymphoid leukemia, or there is hyposecretion of adrenal cortex. Decreased lymphocyte will be observed during stress response due to presence of any corticosteroids in the blood, endogenous or exogenous, any immunosuppressive drugs or radiation therapy, or if there is ACTH administration in the body. In case of acute inflammation also, there is decreased lymphocyte. Acute inflammation may be because of bacteria or virus. And if there is increased destruction of lymphocytes, that is lymphocytolysis, under the influence of any viral infection or immunodeficiency virus types are present in the body, then lymphocytes will decrease. These monocytes, they increase under the response of the stress or maybe during inflammation. Now eosinophils. Eosinophils will be increased under the physiological conditions such as estrus or pregnancy in dog, during the inflammation caused by parasites, or there is some immune-mediated allergic or hypersensitivity reaction that is quite common, hypersensitivity reaction, or some neoplastic condition. The decreased values, that is eosinopenia, will be observed under the influence of some corticosteroids if administered externally or present internally. Now, the basophils. Basophils will increase during immune-mediated response to the allergy, but it will always accompany eosinophilia. An allergic response with basophilia will always have eosinophilia together. However, basophils are very less, so there is hardly any decreased values observed, only increased values are mostly seen, and it may also be observed during chronic myeloid leukemia or mast cell tumors. Then moving on to thrombocyte. The thrombocytes increased values may be seen because the platelets have a tendency to get activated. So sometimes it is also known as activated thrombocytosis, not just thrombocytosis, activated thrombocytosis. It may be observed in some neoplastic condition, chronic inflammation, or some immune-mediated hemolytic anemia. Then apart from that, if the spleen of the animal is removed, then the platelets will be more in circulation. Especially in case of horses, if splenic contraction occurs, there will be more platelets in the blood. And decreased values will be seen, as I told earlier, that clumping of the platelets will lead to decreased values, as well as even microclot formation during the collection of the blood from the vein. That may also lead to decreased values of platelets. Then apart from that, even if the spleen enlarges, if there is hypersplenism, then also it will have sequestration of platelets in the spleen, and it will lead to decreased values. Now we move on to blood smear. This is very, very important, and I suggest that one should always make a blood smear and evaluate it personally. If or if need be, then it may be sent to another person, but smears need to be evaluated immediately. Sorry, it should be made immediately and evaluated as soon as possible. So the slide should be very clean. It should not be greasy. One swift action should be done, and a thumb impression like image should be created of the smear, which should have a very good feathered edge. It should be air dried and fixed as per the protocol of the stain. Mostly Romanowski stains are used, and they give the best results. How will you evaluate whether a sphere is good? It will have a base or body, monolayer and feathered edge. And if you see, keep the slide at the level of your eye and look towards the light. You will see the rainbow effect in the feathered image. This feathered edge will have some of the cells. What will you observe in the feathered edge? You can observe in low power platelets, leukocytes, and microfilaria. Even microfilaria can also be observed with the body of the smear. However, in monolayers, RBCs and WBCs need to be observed. You can also estimate the platelet count and WBC count from the smear to cross-check from the manual counting or hematology analyzer counting, just an idea, rough idea. So in that case, if you see WBC in 10x field, you can multiply with each WBC 330 cells per microliter. Whatever cells you are getting, you count per field, one field in 10x low power, and you can multiply it with 330. That will give you a rough idea. In case of platelets, you have to see it in 100x, and in 100x, the number of platelets which you get in each field, average platelet in one field, that you can multiply with 15,000 per microliter, and it will give you a rough estimate of the platelet count. It is around 11 to 14 per field, and in case of WBC, it is normally around 18 to 50 cells per field. In horses, the platelets are slightly less. Apart from that, enumeration of nucleated RBC is also very, very important, because it will tell you the regenerative anemia, even though I'll cover it later, but still I will tell you in short that if nucleated RBC are counted during differential leukocyte count, do not include in 100 cell differential leukocyte count. And if it is more than 5 per 100 WBC counted, then you have to correct the WBC count. Leave aside this nucleated RBC, but you have to correct the WBC count by the formula 100 divided by the denominator, and denominator is nucleated RBC plus 100. Maybe 5, then 100 plus 5 is 105. 100 divided by 105. Few nucleated RBCs are also encountered in healthy and most sick animals normally, but their count is very less. Now we The coloring pattern of the Romanowski stain, actually it varies lab to lab and the age of the stain. So a standard chart should be referred, and minor variations can be neglected, but that depends on the person, that what type of variations is he or she neglecting. Because if you are neglecting something today with the same stain, again tomorrow you have to neglect it. So it depends on person to person, lab to lab. However, the variation should not be very much. If we are evaluating the smear, then what are we going to encounter in the slide? We must know the erythropoietic stages, which are slightly different from the stages in the humans. That is rubriblast, prorubricite, basophilic rubricite, polychromatophilic rubricite, metarubricite, reticulocyte, and erythrocyte. However, maturation of reticulocyte is also very important, and it is very useful for the diagnostic purposes. Then among the leukocytes, neutrophil is most talked about cell. So we also need to know the development. Basically, there are three stages which form the proliferating pool, and that is myeloblast, progranulocyte, myelocyte. Even though metamyelocyte is proliferating, but sometimes it also goes in the storage pool, because in rare circumstances, metamyelocyte can also be released, can also be seen in the blood. Then the band and the segmented cell. Most talked about are band and segmented cells. Segmented cells are the normal neutrophils in the blood. Band cells are with not so much of segmented nucleus. The pools, there are three pools: a storage pool in the bone marrow. Some cells are proliferating and some are maturing. I showed you in this red colored font the maturation pool, which will be released after maturation. The circulating pool. Now this circulating pool has two types of division: the central circulation and the marginal circulation, that is along the vessels or the capillaries, the walls of the vessels or capillaries. And then there is tissue pools. In case of some abscess, pyometra, or any other condition, the neutrophils will leave the circulation, go to the marginating pool, and from the marginating pool, it will go to the tissue pool. Now the kinetics of the neutrophil is also important to understand. How much time will the neutrophils take? It takes around 1 week for the development of all the stages. So if suppose you are waiting for regeneration or some type of granulopoiesis, then you have to repeat the test after 7 days, because if some requirement for neutrophil production is there today, then it will be completed in another 5 to 6 days. So you may have to repeat the sampling. And for circulation, it takes around 8 hours in a day. So in a full day, it would be around 2 to 3 times circulation throughout the body. Now, before moving on to the variations, we must know what are the normal morphology of the erythrocytes. In case of bovines, the size is comparable to horses. Central pallor, the blank portion or the whitish portion or without any color portion in the center, central pallor is either less or no. And there may be mild anisocytosis in the bovines. Rolex formation is extremely rare. There are no polychromatophils observed, but bovines definitely have basophilic stippling, and that is an indication of regenerative response. Significant poikilocytosis may also be seen in lower age group animals in bovines, maybe below 2.5 to 3 months of age. And microcytosis is also seen even up to 1 year of age. In caprines or goats, they are of the smallest size. Poikilocytosis is again seen in lower age group, or if it is seen in any adult species, that is sometimes Angora. There is no reticulocytosis even during anemia, and there is no polychromasia. Then as far as equines are concerned, the size is similar to cats. There is no central pallor, no spherocytes formation. Yes, but Rolex formation is maximum, so you will see a lot of stacking of RBCs, and that stacking will you can easily see in the feathered edge. However, one characteristic feature of the equines is that you will observe a lot of macrocytes. The size will be more. And in case of younger equines, younger horses, foals, up to 1 year of age, microcytosis may be seen. In case of canines, canine is the species which is having maximum central pallor, that is maximum non-colored portion in the center. So any change in that will be clear-cut observed in canines. There will be prominent spherocytic changes. polychromatophilic erythrocytes are also a normal thing in canines, but they are restricted to hardly 1 to 2%. And microcytosis may also be seen in the age group of 4 to 8 weeks. This age group for 4 to 8 weeks is similar for felines, where microcytosis will be seen. The feline RBCs, they are slightly smaller and slightly variable than dogs. There is no central pallor. And yes, in case of cats, characteristic feature is hinge bodies, which is even up to 10% or slightly lower, can be seen normally. And Howell-Jolly bodies are also seen because cats are prone to more oxidant injury than other species. Rolex formation tendency is slightly more than dog, but slightly lesser than equines. Now we move to the normal leukocytes. Now the neutrophils, they are 2 to 5 lobed, and the numbers increase with the age of the cell. In canines, white cytoplasm is seen with small pink granules, and felines, white cytoplasm with almost no granules, or maybe 1 to 3 small rod or round blue granules in their cytoplasm may be seen, and Dole bodies are common in felines. Then in equines, white or pink cytoplasm with no granules are present. Nuclei is little long and it is knobby, maybe because of the condensed chromatin, and it shows classic segmentation. In ruminants, white cytoplasm with pink granules are mostly observed. See, the nucleus will not have that much of variation, so sometimes we have to identify the species with the help of cytoplasm and the type of granules, the coloration of the granules. Next is eosinophil, where the nucleus is referred as being double dumbbell shaped. The granules are red to orange in color. In dogs, the granules are slightly round and they have a light blue cytoplasm. Whereas in cats, the granules will be not round, maybe it is slightly rod shaped, bacilli shaped, rod shaped, or in horses, large globular orange granules are seen. And you can see in horses, it is like mulberry. The granules are sticking on each other and it is like mulberry grape cluster. In ruminants and camelids, eosinophils, there are small and very round orange granules. If we go to basophil, they have large granules which are darkly blue stained and difficult to see the two-lobe nucleus. The granules are so darkly stained that it is difficult to see the nucleus. In canine, the pale lavender granules and basically long folded ribbon-like nucleus is observed over here. And in felines, slightly oval and pale lavender granules are seen. In equines and bovines, bright purple granules can be seen. Sorry. Now, after basophil, we go to lymphocyte. The lymphocytes are the nucleus. They have the nucleus without any lobes. The nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio is more, cytoplasm is less. And in dogs and cats, the smooth chromatin and light blue cytoplasm is observed. In as far as the nuclei is concerned, it is round to slightly indented or irregular. In horse and cow, the intermediate size with lighter chromatin is observed. Lighter chromatin means lightly stained. If denser chromatin, then it is densely stained. It is like that. More irregular nuclear outlines are observed. In case of bovines now, basically increased amount of light blue cytoplasm is seen. Normally in cattle, lymphocytes dominate more than any other cell. Lymphocytes are the predominant cell in the cattle differential leukocyte count. Then it is very important to know the reactive lymphocyte and granular lymphocyte. So this reactive lymphocyte, they are large with smooth deep blue cytoplasm, which may also be purple, and it may have coarse clumped chromatin. And this, what is this chromatin? Basically, it is having lots of RNA. So it is rather purple and not blue. You can see in the picture. Sometimes granular lymphocyte is also seen in the bovine blood. That is a normal feature, granular lymphocyte. Quite unusual because lymphocytes are supposed to be agranulocyte, but granular lymphocyte, granular appearance is being seen in bovine blood. As far as monocyte is concerned, the only characteristic feature which I want to mention over here, that it is horseshoe-shaped nuclei, and they are also observed in very less number. So you will hardly get monocyte in the smear. Then platelet. How do the normal platelets look like? In bovines, they vary in size, and higher platelet counts are observed as compared to dogs and cat. Particularly in young ruminants, it can be around 8 to 10 lakhs per microliter. In case of equines, you might be knowing, or normally we see that lower platelet count is observed, and they are round and much more paler than other species. As far as felines are concerned, they have large platelets, and in fact, their platelets will have at the periphery dendritic processes, and sometimes that is why it gives a confusion whether they are activated platelets or not activated normal platelets. So feline have a tendency for the activation of the platelets. In case of canines, there is red to pink granules, and they vary somewhat in size. Now, after knowing the normal things, we go for the variation of the erythrocytes, morphological, that is the variation in size, shape, color, entities present in or on RBC, and distribution on the smear. Now, if the size is normal, it is normocytic. Is smaller than microcytic, which is normally observed in iron deficiency. However, not very specific for the any other disease. Macrocytic, in this the RBC size is larger than normal, and they have normal hemoglobin content with little RNA. If RNA is little less amount, then blue color will not dominate, and they will appear red only. Then we also observe anisocytosis, that is the variation in the size of the RBC. We'll have smaller size, we have larger size, we also have normal size. So some degree of anisocytosis, as I said earlier, that in calves earlier stages, it is to some extent normal. So we go to the shape variation now. Now, these are the different variations of the shape, and these are very interesting. If you know the cause of the variation, then definitely it is very helpful in the diagnosis, because ultimately, what are the mechanisms which are going to affect that particular shape? Either it is going to damage the membrane, modify the membrane, or something which is due to any trauma, or if there is any hepatic disorder. So the first is a spur cell, which is also known as acanthocytes. Acantho word means thorn. So these are the spur cells which are blunt tipped. There are spicules present on the membrane of different length, varying length at irregular intervals, and this occurs because the RBC membrane is lipoproteinaceous. So if there is any alteration in the lipid composition of RBC membrane, or if there is any fragmentation, then these cells will be seen in the smear. During hepatic dysfunction or any disturbed cholesterol metabolism, it may affect the lipoprotein RBC layer, and change of the shape will occur in the spleen. Most of the change in the shape normally occurs in the spleen because RBC needs to be very flexible to go through the meshwork of the spleen. And if the RBC does not have that sort of flexibility, and if there is some rigidity or some over flexibility, that it may modify the membrane and it may modify the shape. It is of diagnostic importance, acanthocytes, in dogs and cats. Physiologically, it may be seen to some extent in young ruminants, that is not normal in abnormal in them. And the disorders which are associated with it are liver disease, disseminated intravascular coagulation, as well as to some extent iron deficiency anemia in canines. Then here the slide you can see the spur cell in the left side. Now the burr cell. The burr cell is also known as echinocytes, and echino word is derived from sea urchin or hedgehog. If you remember how hedgehog looks like, the spicules are very short and they are regular. So it gives a crenated appearance to the cell. The drugs that expand the outer leaflet of the RBC membrane and depletes it of ATP. If there is no ATP, then the membrane shape cannot be maintained. So it results in the formation of echinocytes. It can also be seen in some old sample, stored blood sample, and excess of EDTA may increase this cell. Increased pH, alkalosis condition may also be responsible. The drugs which may cause appearance of these cells are salicylates or doxorubicin, phenylbutazone, or furosemide, the diuretic being used in the horses. The disorders are if there is any electrolyte depletion, if there is any deficiency of electrolytes such as sodium, pyruvate kinase deficiency, that is important for the membrane and ATP synthesis. If there is any snake bite, then the phospholipase component of the venom may disturb the RBC membrane phospholipids. And if there is any bee sting or burn injury, in that case, echinocytes will be seen. Now, what are cystocytes? Cystocytes are basically fragments of RBC, and they are produced because of the mechanical injury. That mechanical injury is because of the shearing of the RBC in the vasculature. And that may occur because of the extra fibrin strands which are present in the circulation, and they can shear the RBC into two parts. That may also be there because of the turbulent blood flow. If the blood flow is not very smooth, then it may happen. The diseases which are associated are the ones which are associated almost same disease, which will show acanthocytes, or if there is any portosystemic shunt or iron deficiency also may lead to formation of these cells. Then keratocytes. Keratocytes is like a blister which has been ruptured, or some portion of the cell has been eaten up, like someone has taken a bite in the cell, and it will also appear like helmet. So it is also known as helmet cells. Now, these are sometimes normal in cat. And why is it normal? That, as I told, that cats are prone for the oxidant injury, and some oxidant injury will lead to this sort of membrane modification. Now, the diseases are sometimes similar to those of formation of acanthocytes, where the fragmentation occurs, and for the formation of eccentrocytes, which we'll see afterwards, and that eccentrocyte is specific for oxidant damage. In case of liver disease, if there is any alteration in lipid metabolism, as I said earlier, it will lead to some membrane changes in the RBC and lead to formation of keratocyte. Next set of cells which is there is podocyte. Podocyte, leptocyte, or it is also known as target cell. It is referred to as RBC with a bullseye, wherein lump of hemoglobinized cytoplasm is present in the area of central pallor, and they are more resistant to osmotic lysis. They have increased surface to volume ratio. It is like the hemoglobin that is concentrated in the middle, and it is smeared. So a 3D cell gets smeared and smudged in a 2D form. So the RBC comes in the center, and it is appearing as if some target is there, and we have to attack that target like that. Now, the diseases associated with iron deficiency anemia, or again if there is alteration in lipid content occurs because of any liver disease or any liver dysfunction. Ecumenocytes are basically fusiform RBC or spindle-shaped RBC. This may be because of polymerization of the chains of the hemoglobin or hemoglobin variants. This is normal, slightly normal in young goats and adult goats such as Angora, and some diseases which have been associated is again iron deficiency, especially in camelids. Now, spherocytes are basically sphere-shaped RBC, and they are smaller and slightly denser than normal RBC. There is reduced central pallor. Of course, if they are smaller than central pallor will reduce, there is reduced surface area to volume ratio, and yes, they will show positive Coombs test, direct Coombs test. They are easy to identify in dogs normally and has marked central pallor. In case of dog, the mechanism associated is RBC gets coated with antibody. Some antibody response is there due to antigen, and antibody is coated, and it is phagocytized by the macrophages. The diseases associated are like immune-mediated hemolytic anemia. Now, next is elliptocyte, as it is mentioned in the name, elliptical or oval or elongated RBC. Now, these occur because of the alterations in the membrane or cytoskeletal protein, such as spectrin. They are physiologically in low numbers seen in camelids, camel species, and they occur under the influence of chemotherapeutic drugs. Now, next set of slides, set of pictures are stomatocyte, drepanocyte, teardrop, and torocyte. What are stomatocytes? You see in the picture of stomatocyte, some cells are appearing as if there is a mouth-like central pillar or coffee bean shape. That RBC is with a slit. So, what is the mechanism? It is basically expansion of the inner leaflet of RBC membrane and membrane defects that involves increased sodium and water influx. If more and more sodium and water goes inside, then the central pallor will also reduce, and it will lead to only slit-like opening in the middle, and rest of the things will be swollen. The disorders are not so specific. Only some endocrine abnormalities or sodium or water influx conditions may cause formation of stomatocyte. Drepanocytes are basically drepanocytes. You can see the formation of the sickle. There is a sickle formation, so they are also known as sickled RBC. And as you very well know, you're very well aware of the term sickle. That is because of the mutation in the hemoglobin from linear polymers under oxygenated states. If there is frequent blood collection from an animal, then it may sometimes lead to sickling of RBC. Or if there is any increase in pH in the stored sample, then also there will be sickling in RBC. Next is the teardrop or dacrocytes. They are also known as dacrocytes. They appear as the shape of the tear or appear as the shape of a pear cell, teardrop cell or dacrocytes. The mechanisms, it seems not very sure, but it has been postulated that the mechanism is wherein some inclusion in the cell has been removed from the cell, and cell has again tried to maintain its shape, but could not do it completely or perfectly. Now, physiologically, it may be seen in low numbers in non-anemic camel species, and the disorders which are associated are iron deficiency or myelofibrosis-like condition. Then torocyte, you can see it is also known as punched out cell, and generally it is an artifact during smear preparation, and results are not very much reported. Then the cells are eccentrocytes, pycnocytes, with the formation of pycnocytes and poikilocytes. So if there is any oxidative, I said earlier that oxidant stress is like characteristic for eccentrocytes. So if there is any oxidant stress to RBC, that may induce the cross-linking of the proteins of the membrane, and there will also be formation of hinge bodies. Hinge bodies will be formed when there is oxidant stress. So it will provide an evidence that this is oxidant effect on the hemoglobin. It is seen during oxidative induced hemolytic anemia or some enzyme defects which are inherited. Then basically, what are these pycnocytes? They resemble some sort of membrane tags which are present on the RBC. Poikilocytes again is the variation in the RBC shapes, and these are the variation in the RBC shapes which I have been talking about. So there are various mechanisms. However, they may also be induced, various shapes, different shapes may be induced under the influence of some chemotherapeutic drugs like doxorubicin, or liver diseases were the most common cause for all of these. Physiologically, poikilocytosis may be observed in goats, especially young ones, less than 2 to 3 months. And poikilocytosis, thrombocytosis, and microcytosis. These three conditions can be observed in calves in younger age group. They may also remain microcytic up to 1 year because of the iron deficiency. So you see, in most of the younger age group, these type of things are normal. Next is color variation. Wherein we see hypochromasia and polychromasia. Hypochromasia, there is increased central pallor and there is no coloration, less coloration because of lesser hemoglobin. And the mechanism is basically because of decreased or inhibited hemoglobin production. In physiologically very young animals, especially the piglets, there is physiological iron deficiency. They do not have the access to the soil, so they don't get that much of iron, and less hemoglobin is there, and there is hypochromasia. That is physiological or normal in piglets. Then in large animals also, mineral or nutrient deficiency may be there for iron only. direct or indirect, anything which inhibits the absorption of iron will lead to phenomena of hypochromasia. Polychromasia is basically there is no hyperchromasia because you cannot have more RBC which can stain. Hyperchromasia is normally not seen. Polychromasia is basically purple RBC or polychromic cells. The mechanism involved is in that immature RBCs which contain abundant RNA may have ribosomes. Slightly before maturation, if the RBC is released, it will have lot of RNA. And physiologically, it is also seen in dogs and cats to some extent in low numbers, and it forms a part of regenerative response. We see the entities inside or on the RBCs. Now, Hobel-Jolly bodies, they are basically nuclear remnant or micronuclei present in the RBC. This is because increased RBC production occurs under regenerative anemia, and disease decreased removal by the spleens also may occur. Physiologically, it may be present in the regenerative anemia. And under the influence of drugs like corticosteroids, Hobel-Jolly bodies may be formed. Hinge bodies, they are basically refractile or red inclusion in RBC, and hinge bodies are properly seen in the proper stain which is used as a new methylene blue stain. The mechanism again involves oxidant injury, oxidation of the sulfhydryl groups which are present in the hemoglobin, then lead to formation of disulfide bonds, and formation of such bonds will distort the tertiary structure, and there will be precipitation of the hemoglobin. The diseases associated are, now this is very important because it is seen common as a common disorder, and it may be seen because of ingestion of some red maple leaves in horses and camels, brassica species plants such as kale, turnip in cattle, copper toxicity in sheep. Sometimes the dogs swallow the naphthalene balls, then also hinge body will be seen, and in case of nitrate poisoning in cattle. Apart from that, if onions are consumed by the animal dogs and other smaller species, then also it will lead to formation of hinge bodies. The drugs like acetaminophen, vitamin K1, phenothiazine or propofol, they may also act like oxidants, and they may also lead to formation of hinge bodies. Deficiency of selenium, which forms a part of the antioxidant biomolecules such as glutathione and glutathione peroxidase, that will also lead to formation of hinge bodies, the deficiency of selenium. Next is nucleated RBC. We see RBC with a nucleus is definitely an abnormal thing, and it is normally sometimes present in dogs and camel species. However, increased values are seen during normoblastosis, erythroblastosis, or metarubriocytosis. Earlier stages have more RNA, so it will have blue color. It will dominate the red color. Next is basophilic stippling. These are basically RBCs with blue dots. And why the dots? Because these dots resemble the aggregates of ribosomal RNA. Due to RBC immaturity, either the RBCs are immature or there is inhibition of RNA degradation. RNA degradation should have occurred while the RBC maturation, but it has not occurred. So it will remain as aggregate ribosomes in different areas, and that is why it will appear as blue dots. Physiologically, it is seen in regenerative anemia, especially in ruminants, and sometimes pathologically it is seen due to poisoning of lead that inhibits the RNA degradation. Next is siderosis. Siderosis basically refers to the aggregates of iron in the cell, and there is increased that may occur because of increased iron turnover or inhibition of the iron which is present but cannot be utilized. Now, the drugs which may cause this is hydroxyzine or chloramphenicol, and the diseases associated are something which is related to increased RBC turnover, that is hemolytic anemia, or myelodysplastic syndrome, acute myeloid leukemia. It may be because of lead poisoning also, or vitamin B6 deficiency, or sometimes copper deficiency in pigs. Now, the inclusions of the infectious agents, I have taken 4 examples: Anaplasma, Babesia, Mycoplasma, and viral particles. This anaplasma, they appear as small, dark, round, dark purple inclusions at the periphery of the RBC. Normally, in young cattle, you will not see such type of RBC, in fact, even infected with anaplasma, because they are resistant to such infections. And in case of Babesia, this is seen because they have a replicative stage in the RBC, sporozoites. Now they form merozoites. Whereas in Theileria, an extra phase in the RBC is there, extra RBC phase is there. Apart from the RBC, it also goes into the leukocytes. So, as far as mycoplasma is concerned, the organisms are attached to the erythrocytes and they appear round to oval and irregular and red to blue inclusions. How the cells are distributed, RBCs are distributed on the smear. Now, if we see, either if they are normal, that is good, very good. If they are not, then there will be Rolex formation, stacking of the RBC, or agglutination, that is clumping of the RBC. Over here we see because RBC is circular and they will stack like coin. This occurs sometimes because of increased globulins like fibrinogen or increased immunoglobulins. Diseases like inflammation wherein high fibrinogen or high globulin is there, or if there is some antigenic stimulation, then it will lead to Rolex formation. Only the antigenic stimulation, because not more than that. If more than that, then it will cause agglutination. Normally, Rolex formation is quite visible in blood of equines. Then agglutination is basically the 3D clumping. It is clumping from all the directions, and that is why the role of immunoglobulin M, IgM, is there, because it is a pentamer. From all the sides it may bind, and it may lead to 3D clumping. It is basically because the antibody attacking the RBC. It is normally seen in immune-mediated hemolytic anemia in case of dogs, cat, or horses. How will you differentiate? Because in this picture, even though it is clear, but sometimes it is difficult to appreciate what is Rolex and what is agglutination by seeing the picture. So you can do a saline dilution test, wherein you can take the small sample of the blood and use it in 1:10 dilution, normal saline 10 portion and 1 portion blood, or minimum 1:4 or 1:10 dilution you can take. And if the cells separate, then it will be Rolex formation. And if they do not separate, then it will be considered as agglutination. Next, now we'll see a very most common topic, that is anemia or polycythemia. We'll go for the anemia first. Okay, one of the most important thing is determining the cause of the anemia, because unless and until the cause is determined, treatment cannot be given. So there are major causes such as immune-mediated cause, immune-mediated hemolytic anemia, which may be primary or secondary to some drugs like penicillin, or because of some parasites such as Babesia or Mycoplasma. The blood picture may be moderate to many spherocytes and agglutination. There will be positive direct Coombs test. Apart from that, there may be some oxidant-induced hemolytic anemia, which I told that by ingestion of some plants such as onions by dogs and cats, Brassica species plants by ruminants, red maple leaves, white red maple leaves by camels and horses, and pistacia leaves by horses. Again, some nitrate poisoning plants such as that may happen in ruminants, and some minerals may also be involved, zinc and copper. The chemicals such as I told you naphthalene mothballs, that if ingested by dogs will lead to such type of oxidative induced hemolytic anemia. There may be fragmentation hemolytic anemia, which may be because of the shearing of the RBC destruction, during conditions of disseminated intravascular coagulation. They're also known as microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. Then there is also very commonly known iron deficiency anemia, wherein deficiency of iron or copper, or there is chronic external blood loss, which will lead to deficiency of iron, chronic lead poisoning, or some hemoglobinopathies will be there, or if there is vitamin B6 deficiency. This will all lead to characteristic of iron deficiency anemia. During inflammation, mild to moderate conditions, there may be normocytic and normochromic anemia, and this is the most common cause of non-regenerative anemia. Inflammation will cause non-regenerative anemia. Then again, during the inflammation, the cause will be secretion of inflammatory cytokines, and they will suppress the secretion of erythropoiesis. So there will be also decreased RBC lifespan during inflammation. Now, some infectious agent, as I said earlier, Mycoplasma babesia, some virus or some bacteria like this Clostridium hemolyticum or perfringens or Leptospira, they may also lead to anemia. Some inherited defects in the membrane or enzymes such as pyruvate kinase, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, or FAD deficiency, phosphofructokinase, or some nuclear defects may also cause anemia. If there is any defect in the production of hemoglobin, any drugs which are a potential candidate for the animal may also be a cause of idiosyncratic reaction. It means sometimes we don't know the mechanism, then also it is from the drug only. Now it is very, very important to know whether the anemia is regenerative or not. That means whether the bone marrow is responding or not. The basic things we can classify earlier, whether the RBC size is normal or more. So we can say whether it is microcytic, macrocytic, normocytic from the indices like MCV, and hemoglobin concentration can also give you an idea whether it is like hypochromic, hyperchromic, or normochromic. Then the assessment of regeneration is very, very important. Now this can be done based on whether the polychromic cells are being observed or not. If they are observed, polychromic cells or absolute reticulocyte count is more, or more of macrocytes is being seen in horses, even though normally, but the concentration will increase, macrocytes in horses. If they are seen, then the anemia may be regenerative, and if they are not seen, then you have to wait for 3 to 5 days, because you have to, maybe the stimuli was just a day earlier, so you have to wait for 3 to 5 days so that regeneration, at least the bone marrow gets the time to respond, and if there is regeneration or no regeneration, that permanent decision can be made. So if you do not observe polychromasia or polychromatophilic cells in the RBC, then in the blood smear, then you have to wait. Or if there is no absolute reticulocyte count, but still the animal is presenting the signs and symptoms of anemia, then you have to wait for 3 to 5 days to assess whether it is regenerative or not regenerative. So based on the reticulocyte count and polychromatophilic cells, we can assess whether the anemia is regenerative. What are the other things which may be present in the regenerative anemia is nucleated RBC, anisocytosis, basophilic punctation is also there for regeneration. Whatever I have told earlier in the presentation, that if basophilic stippling is seen, basophilic punctation, macrocytosis, there is increase in MCV, spherocytes formation, autoagglutination, formation of hinge bodies, eccentrocytes, blood parasites, Howell-Jolly bodies. If these are there, then they may also be included in the regenerative anemia features. However, the most important is presence of polychromasia, nucleated RBCs, and reticulocyte count. In case of non-regenerative anemia, there is failure of bone marrow stem cells to produce erythroid cells. So this may occur in few conditions. These are pure red cell aplasia, aplastic anemia, or there is suppression of bone marrow, or there is myelodysplasia. If there is iron deficiency, B12 deficiency or folate deficiency, folic acid deficiency, then also it will be non-regenerative anemia. Now next is polycythemia. If there is an increase in RBC concentration, it may be relative or absolute. So if there is increase in PCV, hematocrit or RBC concentration, it may be relative because of the water losses during dehydration. It will be always accompanied with increased total protein values in the blood. And relatively, it can also be seen if there is a splenic contraction. Spleen will contract, all the RBCs which are sequestered will be released in the circulation and it will increase the count. Or sometimes absolute polycythemia or absolute erythrocytosis is also seen, which may be because of some tumor in the bone marrow. It will lead to conditions like polycythemia vera, or it may also be stimulated by erythropoietin under the influence of conditions like hypoxia, or if there is any renal tumor that is related to erythropoietin secretion, then it may also lead to erythrocytosis or polycythemia. Now the leukocyte responses, I will take a quick look at the leukocyte responses. Basically, based on the neutrophil responses, you have to decide whether it is left shift or right shift, and then to whether it is degenerative or regenerative. So what is left shift? Left shift is basically more of neutrophil precursors such as band cells which appear in the blood. If they are more band cells, the cells with lesser segmentation of the nucleus or no segmentation of the nucleus, they normally also occur, left shift also occur because of the shifting of the neutrophils from circulating to the storage pool or the marginating pool. So the bone marrow, they will be under pressure to produce more and more neutrophils, and band cells will appear in the circulation. This may occur under the influence of bacterial infections or some non-infectious causes of inflammation, such as immune-mediated disease. Now, what is right shift? Right shift is increased number of more segmented nucleus of neutrophils, hypersegmentation of the neutrophils with 5 or even more nuclear lobes. Now, this may occur because of aging process, of if the more aging is there in neutrophils, or the neutrophil lifespan is prolonged by use of some steroids, endogenous or exogenous, that will inhibit the movement of the neutrophils and avoid margination. It will remain in the circulation, so it will remain. It will have more age and it will have more segmentation. So more segmented number of concentration of neutrophils will also be observed. Now, degenerative or regenerative is basically characterized by, there are many other variations, but most important is whether it is degenerative or regenerative. Why? Because we want to know whether the marrow is responding or whether the marrow is not responding. So if the marrow is responding, then even though immature cells are present and there is neutrophilia, still the mature cells will be more as compared to immature cells, and this is known as regenerative left shift. That means the marrow is responding and marrow is coming up to the demands of the body. Otherwise, if the marrow is not coming up to the demands, then mature cells will not be that much. So that will lead to degenerative left shift. Now, there are 3 important responses which have been categorized in the leukocyte response. That is stress, some physiological condition, or inflammation. These are the frequently encountered things in the veterinary practice. That is stress leukogram. Now, the word stress automatically suggests that it is involving some sort of steroids. So even if you inject the animal with glucocorticoid or there is endogenous steroid, then it will have 2 important features. That is neutrophilia. Steroid will prolong the lifespan of neutrophils, so neutrophilia, and shifting of from marginating to central pool. Increased bone marrow response and delayed apoptosis. So this will lead to neutrophilia. And there is lymphopenia. Neutrophilia and lymphopenia in stress leukogram is characteristic. Sometimes monocytosis or eosinopenia is also seen, but they do not, like I said, they do not have that much of concentration. So neutrophilia and lymphopenia. Then the next is a physiologic leukogram, that is under the influence of hormones like epinephrine, or it can be injected from outside also. It is basically fight or flight response during excitement, fear, or anxiety, or with physical exertion, or maybe during parturition, convulsion, or even in young age group animal. So this is characterized by neutrophilia and lymphocytosis. Neutrophilia and lymphocytosis. And additional features may be an eosinophilia or basophilia. Then there is inflammatory leukogram. Inflammatory leukogram is characterized by basically during inflammation, there will be neutropenia with a left shift, toxic change in the neutrophils, and lymphopenia. This will be there when the bone marrow is not able to respond or release enough leukocytes. But if the bone marrow is responding, then there will be neutrophilia, left shift in neutrophils. Some sort of toxic change may also be seen, which is not very characteristic. So there are only two main things, that is neutrophilia with left shift. And in case of bone marrow not responding is neutropenia with left shift. Next is the disorders of coagulation, wherein we need to assess the reasons for either bleeding or hypercoagulability. Genetic factors may be there of hemophilia or von Willebrand disease. Then non-genetic factors which may be treated are hepatic disorders, lack of vitamin K, disseminated intravascular coagulation, or presence of some anticoagulants in blood. Mostly you've seen that you may have observed that sometimes the dogs or any animal may consume rodenticide, and that may lead to bleeding. So anticoagulant may be present extra amount in the blood, and that too non-natural or some outer exogenous anticoagulant. All the tests of CBC must be done to assess the disorder of coagulation: total platelet count, mean platelet volume, platelet distribution with prothrombin time, and partial thromboplastin time. So basically the minimum laboratory information that needs to be gathered to evaluate a patient with hemostatic defect is activated clotting time or activated partial thromboplastin time, prothrombin time, platelet count, and if at all possible then bleeding time, in addition to all these tests which are mentioned over here, like all the tests of CBC, total platelet count. So summarizingly, since it was a very broad, wide topic, and hematology is the most common thing, common test which is done. First is that hematological testing is a snapshot. It is like a photograph, and it is not a videograph. It is not a video. So even though you get the real picture, but you get a real instantaneous picture. You will not get a picture to know the whole story. You have to see the movie, the video. That is why, if needed, the test should always and always be repeated in order to catch the particular characteristic feature, or sometimes even errors may happen in our analysis also. So a repeated sampling is always a must at a certain interval, depending on the stage of the disease or the purpose. Then hematological finding per se is incomplete without the holistic approach, because in a nutshell we can say that we are not treating the lab report, but we are going to treat the animals. So it is more important that what are the clinical signs and correlate it clinically. So these are some of the good books which you all can refer and visit the site as well. It is mentioned over here. It is having a lot of good information. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. V.K. Singh sir, for a nice presentation. So let us start our question and answer session. So there is a few questions.
Yes.
Dr. Vikas Jaiswal asked about the please comment on degenerative left shift.
Please repeat the question again.
Please comment on degenerative left shift.
Okay. Basically, degenerative left shift is something which in which the bone marrow is not responding. So there will be sometimes more immature neutrophils and absolute number of more than in fact absolute number of mature or segmented neutrophils, and the bone marrow response will not be there. However, in some cases they may also, in chronic condition, it may also be there that neutropenia occurs later on.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Swati Gupta asked about what are smooth cell?
Is smooth cell or smudge cells?
Smudge cell.
Okay. They are basically SMUDGE, na? Smudge cells.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Actually, sir, damaged lymphocytes that are produced during the smear preparation. However, there has been a lot of controversy. Earlier, most of the times, the person doing the analysis lead to skip it. So, jokingly, they used to call it schipocyte. But it is that there is no schipocyte. Actually, smudge cells are basically damaged lymphocytes. However, recent researches have been done to identify and correlate it with some sort of leukemias which are originating from the bone marrow. So smudge cells, some till now believe that they are only damaged lymphocytes. Till now, the information is that damaged lymphocytes during smear preparation is there, but recent researchers are trying to correlate it with some sort of leukemia, but that is not final.
Okay, thank you, sir. Someone asked about if there is a dog suffering from pyometra, what will be the blood picture?
Okay. In case of pyometra, there will be leukemoid response and increased neutrophils will be there, as similar to leukemia. Even though there is margination, but there is response also, and there will be more and more number of neutrophils, and the PCV, total erythrocyte count, or there will be total erythrocyte count and PCV will be decreased. There will be normocytic, normochromic type of anemia in case of pyometra.
Sir, someone asked about is it advisable to give erythropoietin in anemic condition to increase erythrocytes?
No, because not always it is very clinically useful, and in some cases it has also been observed that it has led to some other type of problems. So erythropoietin, even though it has been used now and then, but the responses are not so that it can be recommended. Sometimes in case of any renal disease, it may be given, but on an experimental basis. As far as I know, or I have come to observe that there is not very good response of the erythropoietins to the animal.
Okay, thank you, sir. Dr. Vivek Rishi asked about what is the clinical significance of absolute and relative neutrophil?
See, actually, what happens, most of the studies have been done on absolute or relative neutrophils.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
You
sir.
said neutrophil or relative?
Neutrophil.
Absolute and relative. Okay, okay. Basically, what happens, if you take an example that out of 100 leukocytes, if the neutrophil increases, percentage relative increase will be there. Then sometimes if the relative increase is there, but we will not be able to know that what is the actual concentration, and actual concentration will only determine, because it is a ratio of different leukocytes in a differential leukocyte count. So it is more important to know the absolute count rather than relative count. And relative count may be due to some transient or temporary conditions also, because of like if we take the relative terms in terms of the relative dilution or more hemo concentration, in that case it may not be so much of diagnostic. So absolute terms, absolute value is more diagnostic as compared to relative term.
Okay, thank you, sir. Some question from our Facebook. Dr. Abu asked about what are causes for formation of hinge body, oval jodi bodies of RBC?
Yeah. As I said, hinge bodies, they are basically formed because of the oxidant injury. And oxidant injury, maybe ingestion of this red maple leaves in horse and camelids, Brassica species in cattle, or copper copper toxicity, naphthalene balls swallowing by the dogs, or some nitrate poisoning, that will lead to formation of hinge bodies. Basically, they, as I told, they oxidize the sulfhydryl groups and form the disulfide bonds, and they distort the tertiary structure. So that will lead to formation of hinge body. And Howell-Jolly bodies, they are basically formed because of the drugs like drugs which inhibit the splenic removal, or because of the increased RBC production during regenerative anemia. Because there will be immature RBC, so nuclear remains or micronuclei like condition will be there in Howell-Jolly bodies.
Thank you, sir. There is a very good comment in chat box from our participants for you, sir.
Yes.
One more question from Umang Dubaria. How the RBC size and HB concentration helpful in diagnosis?
Acha, that RBC size, RBC size when they are immature, they are larger. The more and more they go towards maturity, the size becomes smaller because nucleus is expelled. So if the size increases, then we may there are many reasons, but this is one reason I'm saying. For example, in the development of the bone marrow, development of the RBC in the bone marrow, there will be decrease in size with the maturity. Now, if an immature stage is released, then it will have larger size. Then we will look for the reasons that why the immature cells are released. If immature cells are released, then there may be conditions of anemia. Apart from that, the size of the RBC may also increase because of the artifacts also. Sometimes there is imbibe of water. Water goes inside during artifactual, some problem in the smear making, or some anticoagulant excess, or this decreased concentration is there. So RBC size affect in that way. Moreover, the color, this hemoglobin concentration, that is also very important because hemoglobin is ultimately responsible for the oxygenation. So if the concentration is less, there will be hypoxia-like condition to the tissues. And if the concentration is not more, because more is rarely seen, it is normal only. So normal is there, then there will be normal oxygenation of the tissue. So whenever the hemoglobin concentration is reduced, the patient will suffer from paleness of the mucous membrane or hypoxia-like, hypoxemic-like conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir. One question from Dr. Sudhit Mehta. Importance of MCV and MCHC in clinical condition?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Importance of MCV and MCHC.
MCV and MCHC.
Yes, sir.
Basically, MCV and MCHC. Okay. Basically, if the MCV decreases, then MCHC automatically increases. So they both are connected to each other. If the MCV decreases, then it will be in the condition of iron deficiency. We'll see a transient microcytosis, and MCHC will cells are normochromic, hypochromic, or hyperchromic. Hyperchromic is not seen, so we can classify it whether normochromic or hypochromic. And with MCV, we can classify whether it is microcytic or macrocytic. And the basic classification of anemia also goes in this manner, whether it is normocytic, normochromic, microcytic, hypochromic, macrocytic, hypochromic, like that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. One question from Dr. Tanmay. He asked about how to differentiate theileriosis and babesiosis and anaplasmosis. differentiation, filariasis, and babesiosis, and anaplasmosis.
Am I audible?
Examination. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes,
Am I
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Hello.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir. Your voice is clear. I am audible. Hello. 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 Dr. Singh, sir. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now audible, sir. Hello. Singh sir.
Hello.
Singh sir, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I think
Sir, your voice is audible.
Dr. Deepak.
Sir, can you hear me?
Dr. Lalit.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Okay, friends. We have Dr. Sandhya Chaudhary, madam. She is a professor and head Department of Veterinary Physiology and Biochemistry. So now I request to Dr. Sandhya, madam, to some comments about the today's webinar.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Sandhya, madam, please.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
I would like to congratulate the whole team. It was a very good webinar, and a lot of information has been shared. And Dr. Virendra has covered most of all the aspects regarding the hematology and its applied aspect. And a number of participants have also joined the webinar. So I thank all the participants for joining the webinar. And I congratulate you, the whole team, Dr. Lalit, Dr. Deepak Suthar, and Dr. Virendra for conducting this webinar. Once again, I congratulate Dr. VK Singh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, madam, for your. So I think Dr.
Hello. I think voice.
Yes, sir. Things up. Hello. Singh sir.
Hello. Okay, I will try to
Yes.
log in again because I think.
Okay, sir. Don't worry. Now, so at the end of the webinar, I request Dr. Deepak Suthar, organizing secretary of this webinar series, for his concluding remarks as well as the vote of thanks.
Thanks to all the participants who joined with us. This webinar series is possible because the positive and strong support of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S.R. Chaudhary sirs, Dean Veterinary College, Dr. V.B. Kharadi sirs, and Director of the IT, Pandya sirs, and team of the IT department. I am also thankful to the Pandya madams, the HOD of the Biochemistry and Physiology department. I'm also thankful to all the participants who joined with us, and I'm heartily congratulations and thankful to the today's speakers, Dr. Virendra Kumar Singh, who give the nice presentations and give the excellent details about this webinar. It will be helpful the diagnosis of the clinical conditions. Thanks once again. Thanks to all the participants. Next week, join with us with the new speaker with the new topics. Till then, namaskar. Goodbye.